Hi guys, and welcome to episode 16 of the Milk Round, Castlemilk Youth Complex's very own podcast. Get a cup of tea or a drink of juice, sit back and enjoy the show. We've got lots of other videos on our YouTube that you're probably on just now. So if you can like this video, check out our other videos and like them, hit subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. That would be great. And if you need to get us on any other social medias, Chris will run through them just now for you.
So Facebook's Kelly Youth Complex Staff, Twitter, Youth Complex CYC, Instagram, youth_complex, TikTok, Kelly Youth Complex, and you can drop us an email at cycyoutheteam@gmail.com.
Brilliant. So as I says, we've got lots of different videos. Obviously, we've got 15 episodes before this of our podcast on different themes. And we had one last week on, we didn't really do a topic last week, I suppose. We just couldn't think of a topic to go for because we're still waiting on suggestions from you guys, and we thought we would keep it a wee bit shorter as well. So we spoke about like the Glasgow restrictions that came into play, the Scotland games that went on, and you flew through the wrestling quiz, Chris. You bossed it. You gave it an absolute rock bottom. You gave it a Stone Cold Steve Stunner.
Yep, stunner. Finger poke of doom.
Aye, too easy. So it was. I'll need to make them harder, but
Yep.
we've got an exciting quiz coming up tonight. I think
Ooh.
it will test you, but I think you'll do quite well at it because
Hopefully.
it links to our topic tonight.
Okay.
So, aye. So as I say, just check out our other videos, please, guys. It would help us a lot, and just share them on your social medias if you feel up for it. So this week, Chris, what have you been up to?
No, I mean, obviously with the new restrictions coming in, we've just decided, even as a family after that things going the way that they're going, we've decided to just kind of go to ground again, basically,
Okay.
and that just, so I'm not doing a hell of a lot. I've been moved into a new house, as I've mentioned before, so I've been doing general work around there. Now, I have maybe mentioned this in the podcast before, I'm not too bad at some forms of DIY, but when it comes to anything joinery related, anything that involves putting things together or screwing things into walls and things like that, I'm pretty bad.
Right, okay.
I did an IKEA bit of furniture last week, and actually I'm okay with that because there's instructions, there's clear instructions to follow, and as long as you follow the instructions, you're grand. But I had to put a curtain pole up the other day for my son's room because he keeps getting up at like 6 a.m. going, it's morning time. And it's like, right, okay, wee man, it's curtain time for you, I think. It's curtains for you, mate. So it took me 2 hours to put a curtain pole up, and a lot of stress and a lot of swearing and a lot of just generally no worth it, really, for me, you know what I mean? So, yeah, anything. And the thing is, I lulled myself into a false sense of security by putting the IKEA furniture together and going, I think I might be okay at this.
But you should have just listened to your own advice and just checked out YouTube, the way we were talking about in a couple of weeks ago.
I did check out YouTube. That didn't account for the crumbling wall that I was putting the raw plugs into. The old favourite of you put one up and it's great. That lulls you into a false sense of security. You put the other side up and it's just like, it's like you're putting it into melted butter or something like that.
It's always the same, and it's like when you're drawing somebody's face, like for a portrait or something, and the first eye is brilliant, and then you try and get it symmetrical for the portrait, and you're just like, nah, it doesn't work like that. And like girls, like my girlfriend says it as well. She does like one eye of makeup, and it's like, oh, this has gone really well, and then she has to put like the mascara or whatever in her bad hand, or an eyeliner in her bad hand, and it just messes up, and she's like, what was the point? So, that was your week, a bit of trouble with DIY. So my week, I've just finally got back to the gym. So gym's opened last week, which is also what we're going to mention in our nice news part. But I got back and I actually realised how much I missed it, to be honest. We spoke on our mental health podcast episode a lot about how exercise helps mental health and things like that, and I think it has helped with the gyms opening. A lot of people coming out of lockdown, going back to work, and then finally getting the gyms open because it's a place where people go just to free their mind a wee bit. I've really enjoyed going back. I didn't enjoy the first day back because we decided to cycle to the gym and cycle back home. And our gym's in Shawlands, and we stay in Castlemilk. So the cycle back is all up, which isn't a great idea. But we rewarded ourselves that night with an Oro as well.
Nice.
Because I've spoke about that on the podcast a few times as well. Oro, how we'd been missing it through lockdown and things like that, and we finally got booked in. So it was a good Sunday. I really enjoyed
Good
that.
stuff, yeah.
Um,
And it's not so much the first day back, but it's the second day after it usually when it hits you. If it's
so,
like leg day, for example,
mhm.
and it's not walking up the stairs that are bad, it's walking down the stairs that are
Aye,
bad,
aye.
yeah.
And your DOMS usually kicks in the day after. But I done chest the other day, and I woke up this morning and my chest was killing me. And that was like 2 days ago or something, or 3 days ago. I was like, oh my God, this is pain. It was brutal. But apart from that, just watching, as we mentioned last week, this international football was back. So I watched the 2 Scotland games. Kind of wish I didn't watch the 2 Scotland games.
I heard we were kind of lucky against the Czech Republic because
Aye, very lucky.
basically I think they snuck somebody in with coronavirus into their squad or something like
Aye.
that. And I jinxed they had to completely change their whole personnel.
Yep, so they had like under 12s on and that.
And I like a few primary school ones and we still struggled.
Somebody invited their granddad to come back and play because he got a cap in 1958. But they were still a match for Scotland, the mighty Scotland.
Did they let his mobility scooter on the
Aye, they
field
did.
all right? Did they get special wheels for it or something? Yeah.
Had his Zimmer frame so nobody could get near him.
I think we'd be better off with Ali McCoy up front or something, maybe.
Aye, that's true. Probably just go back to the 90s team and just get them playing actual football again. 'Cause they're all superstars, these guys. Like, they're all playing it. Like, Andy Robertson's won a Champions League and a Premier League in the last 2 seasons, and he turns up and puts the dark blue jersey on and can he kick a ball properly?
It's mental.
It's a weird one. It's maybe a mentality thing when you put a
I
Scotland
think so.
on. You've just got to be as bad as everybody else has been in the past. So that was my
It's the fried pizza supper they have like
Aye,
the day before the game or something like that.
That was a good chant that Scotland went to Italia '90, the World Cup, and the Scotland fans were singing, "We're going to deep fry your pizzas." So although our football team are bad, our patter's good, so it is.
So it is, definitely.
Like we said last week, no great news for people living in Glasgow. Obviously, there's more restrictions and rules put in place, but we've just got to follow them, do what we can, do our part. But because that's bad news, we like to bring a wee bit of nice news every week to our podcast just to cheer you guys up. So, on nice news, we've got a couple of stories again. As I says, gyms are back open, so if you attend a gym, that's brilliant for you. You can go and meet your pals or meet up with a PT or just go for a workout yourself. They're open for now. We don't know how much longer they'll be open for because there is more restrictions coming in, but let's not worry about that just now and just enjoy it while we can. Football fans are getting back into stadiums. So last week we mentioned that rugby fans were back. They were piloting that in the Glasgow-Edinburgh game. So this weekend at Pittodrie, Aberdeen, 300 Aberdeen fans are getting in, and in Dingwall, 300 Ross County fans are getting in for the pilot of football fans back in Scotland. Also, if you're an English football fan, the Premier League starts back again on the 12th, this Saturday, so that's something to look forward to. And the nicest news story that I want to share this week is that a 71-year-old from the East End of Glasgow won £50,000 jackpot at the bingo. When was it? I'm trying to think. The 24th of August. So kind of bingo had just started opening up again, and he decided to go for a game because he's been going for 10 years, and he won £50,000. So well done to that guy. I wish I knew.
Mental.
I know. You just walk in, 71-year-old, have a wee game of bingo, and you walk back out with 50 grand.
I mean, my old granny used to go, and I think the most she ever won, I think it was like about £400 or something like that. But it was in the 80s, so that was like £4,000 in the 80s. No, exactly. I mean, but no, that's an astonishing amount of money. Probably, I don't even know what the odds would be to win that in bingo.
No, I'm not sure. It must have been like a jackpot game or something.
I think what they have is they call it a link up,
right?
And they link up to all the bingo houses nationally, right. and it's out of all of them basically. Mm-hmm. So it'd be quite large odds, I would have said, to win that.
So well done to that guy. Aye, that's brilliant. I've never been to the bingo myself. Have you been, Chris?
No, I've never been to bingo. I've taken part in bingo in like at like holiday camps and stuff like that, but I've never been to the proper bingo. I just think, it was stressful enough at the holiday camps trying to keep up with the numbers because they come out rapid, and you're like, oh, I think I've missed a number. So it's just a wee bit too stressful for me, I think, you know.
A lot of people were doing it during lockdown, doing it with like their street or whatever, calling it from their gardens when the nice weather was out. So that was quite good, getting the streets together and stuff and meeting neighbours and things like that. But I've not been to the proper bingo. But I think I might be attending the one in the East End that guy went to. It was the one at the Forge, so that's
will lightning strike twice, though, Lee? Who knows?
You never know. Hopefully if I turn up. So that's our nice news for the week. Hopefully that's put a smile on your guys' faces. It's because it's kind of all doom and gloom in 2020. But the Milk Round is here to make you happy and entertain you. And this next section definitely entertains most of our viewers and listeners. It's a fan's favourite. Still waiting on the merch to come out. And it is What's on My Telly and What's in My Belly. So we do this every week and just tell you a wee recommendation that we've been watching and something that we've had to eat that week that we want to share with you. So you've got something good lined up with more pictures and that again. So
pictures.
I'll go first this time.
Yes, why not?
So What's on My Telly? I kind of struggled this week, Chris, to come up with something that I could share to our viewers and listeners. Because obviously we work with young people from age 12 to 25 and we kind of recommend stuff below an 18 so that most of our participants can watch it. And I've not been watching many things that are below an 18 recently. I started watching Hannibal, the sequel to Silence of the Lambs. Can't share that with young
That's
people.
Freaky.
Aye, very freaky. We started Fresh Meat again. That's an 18 as well. That's the one that was on Channel 4. It's about students, so they don't get into halls, so they have to live in a house together. And that's kind of aimed at students and older. So something else that I have been watching that I can recommend is an old classic, and it's Still Game. You can't beat a bit of Still Game. It's too easy to watch, and it's just really enjoyable from start to finish, and you feel like you know the characters as well. I think everybody knows a Jack, everybody knows a Winston, everybody knows an Isa who wants to know everything about the community. So I Still Game, and I feel like I can recommend that to everyone.
Yeah.
Some episodes would maybe be classed as a 15, but it used to be on. It used to be on a Friday night, I remember, because I used to go to football training on a Friday night and come home and watch it. And it was after the Watershed because of the language and that in it, but it's easy to watch for younger people. So that's my recommendation for this week, Still Game. You can get it on Netflix and maybe the iPlayer, but I've not tried getting it on the iPlayer because some episodes are on that BBC Scotland channel. They air some of the episodes on that now.
Yeah.
But that's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Easily. Always recall that one. There was one scene where it was Naveed's van, the Sweeties fell out the van outside a primary school, and it's all the kids running to the Sweeties, and then he's got them all lined up at the end, and it's like he's smelling their breath, going Mars bar 60 pence, goes right up to all of them, and then the teacher's at the end, and he goes, "Hold on a minute, you." So and so, they use more colourful language than that. It's just, that tickles my kind of humour bones, that type of humour,
It's brilliant comedy. I love it. So next part, What's in My Belly? I think I've actually recommended this dish before, but 16 episodes in now, and I had it again tonight, this dish, and I just want to recommend it again because nobody's asked for the recipe. But I've done it kind of differently tonight. So it's bacon and cheese pasta. It's dead simple. Boil your pasta, fry up some bacon, and then the Bisto cheese sauce. Other cheese sauces are available. We should get that on some merch, I think, as well. Other podcasts are available, but not as good. Something like that. But yeah, I use the Bisto cheese sauce and then add grated cheddar to it as well. Mix it all together. But what happened tonight was my girlfriend Brooke's mum made ham. Like roast ham. They were having that with potatoes and things like that, and having it in a big homemade bowl of pot of lentil soup. So she left some over for me and says, "Oh, do you want to make your bacon and cheese pasta?" So I done it with roast ham this week, and it's brilliant. I've left some over so that I can take it into work tomorrow as well. So if you guys need the recipe for that, or need to find out where you can get the cheese sauce of any kind, not just the Bisto, then give us a shout on our social medias. So I think I've recommended that before, but there's another recommendation for it because it's that good. So nice, I recommend it twice.
Exactly.
Aye.
Put that in a t-shirt as well.
Aye. So, Chris, what's on your tailor this week?
So I'll keep this really brief because I think we're going to talk about films and stuff like that, so it's going to be quite similar in a lot of ways. So what's on my telly this week? It's in relation to the third and out of the three is just coming out, and it's been a long-awaited third episode of it. So I watched the first episode, the first film, which is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right. Aye.
It's a PG, so I can confidently recommend it to all our viewers and listeners. It's just a bit of nostalgia. It's a bit of harmless fun. It's daft comedy. The thing that I would say is, having watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I seem to remember a lot more from the second one, which is Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and it has like death in it and stuff like that, and they play like best out of 3 games and stuff like that. And I just seem to remember a lot more of the humour from that. So that's going to be my next thing that I'll probably watch this week.
Okay.
It's just films that we're able to watch at tea time when the kids we're all having our dinner and stuff. And that was one of them that we decided to kind of go ahead and watch. Kids were not interested in it, I have to say, for some reason. We also watched this week as well the Eurovision one on Netflix with Will Ferrell, and that was actually quite good. That was quite funny. Yeah, I quite enjoyed.
I had this conversation last weekend, but when my mum and dad said, "Oh, we watched that crazy Eurovision film," and I was like, "Oh, I've seen it," and they were like, "We knew you would have seen it," because I go on about Eurovision every year because I think it's hilarious just to watch Lithuanians jumping about a stage, like playing violins and things like that. It's just brilliant. But that film, it didn't look like it was going to be great, but when you sit down and watch it, it's actually really enjoyable.
Yeah, I liked it. Katrina loved it. She was mesmerised. She thought it was dead good. So I suppose that's a dual what's on my telly this week. But since I've mentioned that one, should I save that for next week, shouldn't I? But,
I know, aye. So the new Bill and Ted, when's it out? Do you know, Chris?
It's currently out in the cinema.
Right.
So you could go and risk it for a biscuit at the cinema, or you can probably wait for it to come out. There are probably other methods to watch things, Lee, but I'm not going to mention them on the podcast.
About that, Chris, no.
But I have it under good authority that there is a way to watch it currently.
Right, okay. You've heard of somebody who's heard of somebody?
Yeah, somebody told me.
There's a guy in that, Kid Cudi, a rapper, who's in the new one. So I quite like that rapper. So I don't know if he's going to do some music in it or if he's just acting in it. So I've
not seen it yet. So yeah. So I will update you once I see that. So that might become a feature in the coming weeks. Yeah. I suppose we're on to what's in my belly now. So I'm going to try by the modern methods of technology to share my pictures again. So just bear with me when I'm doing that. So actually, this is really weird that you've been saying this. Like it's kind of similar to your one. So it's autumn is coming in, right? So it's time for like a mac and cheese, man. So that's my mac and cheese.
Nice.
In order to do that, like, I mean, I'm not against you using things like Bisto cheese sauce and then adding cheese to adding milk to it and making it. It's basically, because all you're doing is making a roux, which is made from flour predominantly, and then just adding your ingredients.
Yeah.
What I would recommend to you, though, when you're making that sauce up, is you're going to add some mustard, some hopefully Dijon mustard. I use Frank's American mustard, which is kind of similar. It's halfway between Dijon and English.
Right.
So in that sense, it's kind of got a wee bit of the tang of English, but also a wee bit of the sedateness of Dijon. I'll also add a bit of Worcester sauce into it as well, because Worcester sauce and cheese just go really well. And if I'm mixing up my pasta, I'm not going to put it in the oven. I'm not going to roast it in the oven. I'm just going to grill the top of it, because I feel putting it in the oven, you're losing a lot of the kind of moisture of it.
It goes kind of rubbery, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not as good for me. So, but I did a wee kind of riffing moment, because I had a bit of bolognese sauce left over from making a
Right.
lasagna, and I put it in the base of it.
Aye.
You can see it there. I've put it in the base, and that just gave it another dimension. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, you can add bacon and stuff into a mac and cheese, but adding that wee bit of leftover bolognese sauce just gave it something
The edge.
nice. Yeah.
Aye.
I also think this is something that's previously mentioned, so a lot of people have been asking about it. Was my sweet chili halloumi kit, and this is something that our members could and our viewers can probably make up for their family, especially if that family is like a vegetarian family, for example. This isn't vegan friendly, but it's definitely vegetarian friendly.
Right.
This is the kit here that I was talking about. It's like you've got the bag at the top and you get the seasoning there.
Yep.
And I served it with some couscous, and that was my final kind of product there.
Right.
And it's really tasty, so highly recommend it. If you're into that sort of thing. I love halloumi. I could probably go veggie for a week just eating halloumi, I think.
Aye, just every dish for 7 days, halloumi.
It's a great substitute, I think, you know.
Aye.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's been in my belly this week.
Brilliant. And if any of you guys need the recipes or ingredients or just where to find the ingredients, give us a shout on our social medias. We'll mention them at the start and we'll mention them again at the end. So as Chris says there, a wee while back, we're going to talk about something that we both really love and we both spoke about a few times and we both made references to a few times in episodes of the podcast, and it's movies. We done an episode on YouTube 2 weeks ago because Chris and myself love YouTube. We use it all the time, and we thought, why not do another episode like that, and do it this time on movies, because we've done it on music, so the next stage is probably movies. Yep. And we're going to do a wee format that we've done in the music episode. We've done that with Maya. She was a guest that week. And we're going to do like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 style, where we have to name 5 of a certain thing, 4, 3, so on, so on. So we came up with, for number 5, we're going to say our 5 favourite movies. We were talking about this before we started recording, and we were both kind of struggling with it. I kind of set it as a hard task of, I had them a totally different way, and I suggested to you, you suggested to me, maybe change it up because this could get quite hard, and it still was really tricky the way we ended up with it. But I think you did make it easier by doing this, by giving 5 favourite movies. So, will we go 5 each, or 1 each? What do you want to
do? Why don't you go first with your 5?
Right. Okay.
And then then we'll go over to mine. I think that's
right. Okay. So my favourite movie of all time is The Dark Knight, out in 2008, the Batman movie from the Dark Knight trilogy. Just loved it. I was like 13 when it came out. So for a superhero to be cool, but also like dark, where it wasn't like the comic book movies of the Spider-Man trilogy that came out when I was younger. As a teenager, it was brilliant. So it was, after Batman Begins was kind of boring for my age, but going back and watching Batman Begins, it is a great film. But The Dark Knight just makes that whole trilogy, I think. My next one is Back to the Future. It's probably my second favourite film. You've spoke about it before in the podcast. The first one out of the trilogy of that is my favourite from the 3. It just sets the other 2 films up nicely. The characters are brilliant in it. It's just a great story, although a wee bit weird at a point, but I think that adds to the comedy of the film and the kind of slapstick silliness of it as well. The next movie is a movie I mentioned last week when I was talking about war movies and things like that, and it's 1917, which was out last year, I think. I went to the cinema to see that, and I was blown away by it. I like war movies. I've always thought films like Saving Private Ryan and things were excellent, big Hollywood style blockbuster war movies. But what I liked is 1917 kind of simplified it, and it followed British soldiers. So kind of, when you're learning about the war in school, you learn about the British soldiers more than the American soldiers, so you kind of have more knowledge on it. But it's a brilliant film, just the way it was shot and things like that. The next one is Guy Ritchie's film Snatch, which follows like 6 different stories that are all intertwined in the East End of London. Yeah, you've got like gangsters and underground boxing and jewel thieves, and it's just really funny and really clever the way it's written and directed.
You seen Lock, Stock as well then?
I've not seen it.
It's
Everybody
so similar.
why
It's
have you
so
not seen
similar,
it?
and actually probably better than
Right, okay.
Snatch, I would say.
Right.
Snatch is great. Snatch is great as well, but just Lock, Stock, man, was the original, and it kind of aye.
Yeah, I know I need to see it. Everybody always says that when I say, "Oh, have you seen Snatch?" They always go,
Mm-hmm.
"I bet we've seen Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels," and I've not seen it. So that'll maybe come up in what's on my telly, but I don't know if I'll be able to recommend films like that.
No, probably not.
And my last one is another movie that I would never be able to recommend, but it's a great movie, and it's the Tarantino movie Django Unchained, with Jamie Foxx as Django. It's a brilliant movie again. I like Tarantino stuff. It's always good. It's always a bit crazy when it gets to the last scene, and Django doesn't fail to follow that trend. It's just brilliant all the way through as well. So that's my top 5 movies. That's my favourite 5.
I
What
think
about you,
that's.
Chris? What's yours?
It's just weird. There's a lot of similarities in our
Right,
tastes in
okay.
films here,
Aye.
you know. But it was just when you're talking about Guy Ritchie again as well. I can't recommend it to remember, but the latest one's good. It's a real return to form for him. The Gentleman, it's called.
Right, okay.
So check that out if you're a fan of
Yep.
his movies. And you mentioned there's some crossover here because later on when we get into the other categories, but I think mostly all the films that I've got here you haven't mentioned so far,
Right,
so that's
okay.
good.
That is good.
So one of my favourite movies of all time is The Big Lebowski.
Right.
It's Jeff Bridges. It's by I believe it's the Coen brothers. It's just offbeat kind of sense of humour thing. It's one of the few films that has reduced me to tears of laughter.
Right.
And there's a specific scene right at the end of the film where one of the characters unfortunately dies, and they're disposing of his ashes in a scenic place, and they kind of like it's over a kind of cliff top where he used to surf, the guy, and the ashes just come out and they go direct. He's like completely oblivious, Jeffrey Lebowski, as it blows back onto his friend all over his mate. And that was the bit that reduced me to tears. It just tickles my dark sense of humour. And I remember coming in and trying to tell my parents about it, because I was still living with my parents. It was that long ago I saw this film. And I went in, I eventually told them I was laughing then. And my mum's response was, "That happened to your uncle when he was doing that with your grand's ashes." And I was like,
oh no.
The tears of laughter were replaced by genuine tears, I think, at that point, you know. That could have been in a film, I think. That scene in my house at the time. But no, great film, great soundtrack, because that's something we might mention in a wee while.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going a bit deep in this ear here. My next film is The Shawshank Redemption.
Right, yeah. Great
Stephen
movie.
King book. It's got Morgan Freeman and what's the other guy's name? Can't remember the other guy's name, but I know the characters. He plays Andy Dufresne.
Yeah.
It's just it's not yet again not something I can recommend to all our members, but it's really important film. It's cinematic history. You know, it's a point in cinematic history. You really feel that journey with the guy. He's in jail for X amount of years, wrongly imprisoned, but you know, it's just you're with him the whole way. Basically, I'm not going. If somebody hasn't seen it, which I highly doubt, then it's a really good ending as well.
Yeah,
and that's all I'll say.
Just do you know the knowledge, because you're good at the quizzes, but do you know the bit of trivia that you should maybe know about that? What the book's called? Because it's different to the name of the film.
Nope.
No, it's Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption is the book.
All right, well that makes sense. Yeah,
Rita Hayworth's on the poster in his cell. But just in case it comes up when you're in a pub quiz or something,
I think I'm going to struggle with this movie quiz, because we were doing quizzes during lockdown, like Zoom quizzes, and I always struggled with the movie round for some reason.
Right, okay.
I was good with music, but I wasn't good with the movie round.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. So, Star Wars, either A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
I'm not going to pick one because they're both excellent.
Right. Okay.
And it's just, you know, formative, influential throughout my life stuff. That I thought I'd pick one that was a bit left of centre, but it had a really powerful effect on me at the time I saw it. And it's probably something that most people haven't seen. It's called V for Vendetta.
I've not seen that. No.
It's based on a graphic novel. It's probably, in my opinion, and this includes all the Marvel stuff out there, it's the best comic book adaptation out there, period.
Okay.
It just really, it's really relevant, I think, to today's kind of political environment as well. Without giving, let me just make it clear, my opinions are my opinions and they're not the opinions of Castleknock Youth Complex. But as we kind of move to a more kind of authoritarian, almost autocratic kind of society, which in my opinion we kind of are slowly moving towards, this is a perfect film to watch based on that. It has a really powerful effect on you. So yeah, that V for Vendetta, highly recommended. And my last one is also a Tarantino. I love Django Unchained, but for me, the thing that I think the most kind of memorable and most influential Tarantino film for me was Pulp Fiction. Love Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
So, and I could say lines from it and stuff like that. So, as much as I love Django Unchained, I have to go to Pulp Fiction. That was, I saw that in the cinema and everything. You know what I mean? So
another one that we probably can't recommend to our members, but a great film. Aye. And what's good about that is it kind of almost goes with Snatch, like, because it's all these different stories, but they all meet.
Yeah, it's exactly it. That's it. Tarantino was absolutely on fire at that period in the kind of 90s. You know what I mean? So that was when he became a huge deal, basically. So, but most Tarantino films, in my opinion, are good. So, I think you have to be a Tarantino fan, though.
Aye. Yeah. So what we thought we would go for next is 4 of our favourite actors or actresses.
God, I think I've got this mixed up, but it's okay. I'll cover it. It's fine. You go first, though.
Maybe it's my fault.
No, I think it was me because I remember.
No, as I say, The Dark Knight is my favourite movie of all time, but I think Christian Bale is a great actor. He's probably my favourite. I think the way he can change his appearance is incredible. He cares so much about his roles. He puts so much effort into every role. I've seen him like in The Fighter, The Machinist, in The Dark Knight. He's built. In American Hustle, he's really overweight. And he's just a brilliant actor. He takes everything quite seriously. Second favourite is a guy who I grew up watching his films, and it's Adam Sandler. Now, not saying he's a great actor or anything, but his films just, like, they're my childhood, basically. So I love everything that he's in. He's probably the same character in every one of his comedies, every one of the Happy Madison films. He's just an angry guy. Even when he goes into Grown Ups 1 and 2, he's an angry guy in them. And most recently in Uncut Gems, where it's probably his best acting performance ever because it's a serious role. He is really good and people are tipping him for Oscars and things like that, but he's an angry guy.
Kind of like Will Ferrell. Is that quite a similar kind of... That kind of, he plays the same character in every film, but
it works.
And Will Ferrell has had serious roles as well, where you've went, oh my God, you know.
So he's up there for me. Another guy who probably isn't a great actor, but the same as Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, and it's just because of the movies that I grew up watching as well. I kind of base a lot of my sense of humour on Jim Carrey as well. I do like carry on with my mates. I would do some physical stuff, and I've got like some quirks that he does and some his accents and things like that. So I'd have him up there.
I think Jim Carrey is total Marmite. You either love or hate Jim Carrey, and I'm definitely in the camp. I love Jim Carrey. I think he's an amazing actor, and he had that serious role, kind of semi-serious. If you've seen Man in the Moon about Andy Kaufman,
the old comedian who was on,
and it's just, and he's had a few serious roles after that as well, you know.
So
yeah, no, good actor.
brilliant. And then my last one to finish off the four is Jennifer Lawrence. Um, I just think she's brilliant. I've read The Hunger Games and I've watched The Hunger Games, and she gets Katniss spot on. She's moody and kind of independent and things like that. An American Hustle, a movie that I mentioned with Christian Bale in it, she's brilliant in that as well
Mhm.
because she's just a totally different person from Katniss. So I think with a lot of actors, you see them in one thing and you just see them as that character. So like maybe I don't think Daniel Radcliffe looks like Harry Potter every time he's in a different movie. So I've seen him in like Now You See Me 2 and Women in Black. He is totally different, but you just can't get Harry Potter out your head when you're seeing Daniel Radcliffe. Whereas with Jennifer Lawrence, I think you get a different picture of her every role she plays. So that's my four favourites probably.
Brilliant. Yeah. I would say I was going to ask you a question on Christian Bale.
Okay.
Have you seen Empire of the Sun?
No, I've not seen that. No.
Christian Bale is merely a 12-year-old child in it. He's got a main
Right.
part in it, and he's amazing in it.
Is he?
So
Right. Okay.
check it out.
Aye.
It's got John Malkovich in it for a bit as well, but it's mainly him.
Yeah.
And it's he gets displaced from his parents while he's in Japan, and this is during World War II.
Okay.
And this is just before they were dropping the bomb on Hiroshima.
Right.
And it just shows you his journey going through all the refugee camps and stuff like that. And it's Japan are starting to kind of pull. I think he might have been in China. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It's been ages since I've
Right.
seen it, but it was basically the first film Christian Bale was
Right.
kind
Okay.
of known for. And
Mhm.
then he obviously is known as a proper bona fide adult actor as
Yeah.
well. But he was originally a child actor. So there you
I've
go.
still to see a couple of his stuff like The Prestige and
Mhm,
the one where he plays John McCain, the vice
mhm,
president,
mhm,
to George Bush, where he
mhm,
totally changed his appearance as well and that.
mhm,
So I think he's just really professional and just cares so much about entertaining
mhm.
people.
Well, check
And-
out Empire of the Sun because that's a great film as well.
right, yeah.
Great film,
Okay, I'll check that out.
and your man's in it as well, Ben Stiller.
Is he? Right, okay.
Aye, he's just got a really small role in it, but you just go, oh my god, that's Ben Stiller.
Aye, aye.
Before he was a big deal as well, you know. So
I like
check it
that
out.
in movies.
So
That's
if
good.
that's not a good enough reason, then I don't know what is.
Aye.
So seamlessly leading on to my favourite actors of all time. Another one that started off as a child actor and became a bona fide heavyweight is Leonardo DiCaprio in my book.
Right, okay. Aye.
I think he's like a modern day Jack Nicholson in some ways. I think
Right,
he
aye.
really reminds me of Jack Nicholson.
I see that.
I love The Aviator when he was playing, is it Howard Hughes? I loved that film. I loved his role in Django Unchained.
Yeah, it was brilliant in that.
He's just generally good value in most of the things
Yeah.
that he's in, to be quite honest.
I really like Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, brilliant film. Tom
Excellent,
Hanks.
yeah.
Yeah, great film.
He's got good charisma about him.
Yeah.
He's quite likable in movies.
Leading seamlessly on, also one of the top actors of all time is Jack Nicholson in my book.
Aye, aye.
He's unfortunately retired now, but he was still hammering out the performances really up to his retirement.
Yep.
So the original Joker as
Aye.
well, you know.
Plays it really well.
Another dearly missed actor, and I think I just really likable guy. I think would be Robin Williams. I think
Yeah.
he's a great actor, but also just seems like, from all accounts, he was just a genuinely lovely guy as well.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought about putting him in my top four actually, Chris.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's
We're getting
Yep.
quite similar tastes here, you know.
oh, aye.
And my last one is Samuel L. Jackson, who
Right.
generally just plays Samuel L. Jackson in all his films, like a lot of successful actors. But a man that can say to George Lucas, I want a purple lightsaber and get it, is in my top four.
He's great. He is really good, but he's in every movie ever as well.
Basically, yeah. He's the hardest working guy, I think, you know.
It's brilliant. Aye. But like he's plays so many different roles, but like you says, it's Samuel L. Jackson, but he is good at actually changing his role, I think. Where you don't, if you thought of Samuel L. Jackson, you wouldn't think of one character.
Yeah.
Whereas, as I was saying, Daniel Radcliffe, you would think of Harry Potter. And I don't know if that's because the franchise was so massive, but Samuel L. Jackson is great. I agree with that. So the next one we thought we would go for is three characters Sorry, I meant to ask you before that when you were talking about Jack Nicholson. What's your favourite role that he's played?
Jack Nicholson. Oh, it's hard. But I'm going to say the Joker,
The
in
Joker.
Batman, because I love that sort of genre anyway,
Right.
and I
Okay.
just thought he made that film for me, you know.
Aye, he was
So
excellent in it. Aye. Which leads us on to three characters. So you've named the Joker, and
mhm.
one of my favourite characters is the Joker, um, because he's done so well in so many different films by so many different actors. As I mentioned, The Dark Knight is my favourite film of all time, and Heath Ledger is incredible at playing the Joker. Just chaos ensues, and it's what the Joker's meant to be. Jack Nicholson is excellent at him as well. More comedy with Jack Nicholson, kind of because it's after the Cesar Romero stuff,
Mhm.
but it's all about
It's
fun and like,
definitely yeah.
yeah, and it's not as dark yet.
Mhm.
But then more recently with Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, it's an excellent character again. You get to know Arthur Fleck, who is he the real Joker? You don't know because that movie leaves a lot of questions unanswered. But um, it's just a brilliant character, I think, because it's a villain that you can't really hate, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Aye,
agreed.
and I think that sticks to the comics as well because Batman needs him there as well.
Yeah, it's a codependent relationship they
Aye,
have in some ways.
aye.
Just before you go on, I'm going to say the Joker was one of mine as well.
Right,
So,
okay.
so exactly what you've said there. You know,
Aye.
it's hard to pick out one version of the Joker because
Mhm.
they all have their own thing. So I'm not going to pick one out at all.
No,
Just
eh,
that's what the strength of that character is to me.
aye, definitely. Um, another one is another one of my favourite characters is played by Jim Carrey, and it's Ace Ventura, the pet detective. Just for comedy value, he's excellent in the two movies, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. Is just a guy that just can't be real. He's just, I know it's not supposed to be real, but this guy just can't be real. Like his quirks, his references to other movies and things like that is brilliant. I think he's just a great character. And like I say, a lot of my sense of humour comes from Jim Carrey and probably mostly from the two movies. And my last one, who is a really, really likable character, and I really like the actor as well. It's Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean series. Um,
This one.
he's just a fun character and really likable, even though he's no likable as well. If that makes sense, he's just a really fun, good character who you always want to succeed, which I think always makes a good character. Somebody that you want to do well and you're backing them. So that's my three favourite characters from movies.
Apparently based that character on Keith Richards from
Right?
the Rolling
Okay.
Stones,
Really?
and that's what led Keith Richards in subsequent sequels to playing his father
Yep.
in
Aye.
it. I believe so.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
trivia.
There you go.
As well.
No, he's a great character. Spent that first Pirates of the Caribbean film, you just couldn't get help but sucked in by just all these kind of banter. You know what I
Aye.
mean?
Exactly. Aye.
It was just all about his dialogue. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's awesome.
Definitely. Um,
So yeah.
so
No.
you've had the Joker, and who else do you like, Chris? Who's your
So I've
other?
had the Joker. I'm going to mention Jeffrey Lebowski from The Big Lebowski.
Right.
I mean, if you can base a bar franchise in Scotland around that character, then it's the dude, man. He's the dude. Everyone knows that. Hey, man, what's going on? It's so laid back. It's
Aye.
undeniable. So, yeah, Jeffrey. If we could all be a bit more like Jeffrey Lebowski, I think the world would be a better place.
Right. Okay.
Um, I'm going to mention something really left of centre, but it's a character that always stuck in my mind. Now, so if some of you like kind of are out there listening right now, fancy yourself as a kind of banter merchant or a slagging off merchant, this guy could be your touchstone for it.
Right.
It's Gunnery Sergeant Hart in Full Metal Jacket.
Snuff almost.
He's the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, and basically the way that it's just the berating of these trainees in the Marines.
Right.
And apparently this guy that they got in just done it pretty much all off the cuff.
Right, okay.
All the kind of insults and stuff like that, and they kind of gave him, like in football terms, a free roaming role in that respect. But I don't think the guy was really in much else apart from that. But I just always remember that character, so I'm going to say it's one of my favourites because his slagging offs are just, it's absolutely brutal. Brutal, you know.
I've seen the scenes with him because they're just famous scenes, but I haven't seen the movie, so that's how good a character he is. That you know his scenes even if you haven't seen the movie.
So and then we mentioned the Joker. So
yep, a lot of similarities still, Chris. It's good.
Getting there.
So for our 2 in the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we thought throw in some animated movies. I don't know if you're a big fan of animated movies, Chris. You've got 2 kids in the house.
Yeah, but I went a different slant on this one.
Okay.
So that was the obvious, but I decided to go on a different slant.
Right, no worries. So I went for Toy Story, the first out of the 4 films. It's just, I loved it when I first seen it, and I've watched it so many times after that, and it's my favourite Disney/Pixar movie of all time. And because you kind of stick with the characters, you fall in love with the characters in Toy Story, and that's why it's won so many awards. And my next one was Shrek, because it was just something so different, but became massive when it came out. And I remember seeing it in the cinema. I actually went to the cinema with my family to see it and loved it. Loved Donkey from it, best character in that franchise. And then they've made, like, I've been to Florida a couple of times, and in Universal Studios there's a Shrek 4D simulator ride, and that's just as good as the movies as well. So Toy Story and Shrek are my 2 animated movies. What about you, Chris?
I went a completely different slant because I watch a lot of animated movies with the kids, so and it was pretty kind of easy for me to just go to that. But I went with stuff that was actually aimed at a kind of more adult kind of taste. So, and this is a controversial one. I don't think this is going to stand the test of time, so I don't know how much it's going to fly now. But I went with Team America.
Right, aye. Yeah.
So it's probably, the humour is probably not going to stand in today's society, but I remember at the time just being spot on hilarious, you know. And that's the problem with satire like that, it does kind of date after a while. The other one, kind of left the centre one as well, was Batman The Dark Knight Returns. It's an animated version of Batman.
Right.
It's based on the Frank Miller series of comic books, and it's a very grim, like kind of almost like a broken down Batman and a kind of almost autocratic kind of America. It's very stylish, it's very dark, and it's very deep and stuff like that. But it's one of probably the best Batman animated movies. It's got a 15 certificate, I believe, but it's worth checking out if you're into Batman.
That's funny as well, because I wanted a third space on that one so that I could put Lego Batman movie, because
the Lego stuff's great.
The Lego movies were excellent, so they were the way they were done, but the Lego Batman stuff, the humour in it was incredible, and that the guy Will Arnett that plays Batman's voice is excellent as well. So I think honourable mention is what you call it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And our last one to finish off a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 was one favourite soundtrack from a movie. Now I struggled with this, Chris.
I can fill for you here if you want.
Okay. I was speaking to Brooke about it before, and she was like, "Why don't you just say your favourite composer?" Because there's a guy, Hans Zimmer, who does so much movie scores, and he's incredible. I love, like, listen. Sometimes I just listen to the music without watching the movies, because his music tells you the story of the film as well.
Absolutely.
But what I went for was Trainspotting. It's got a brilliant soundtrack for the 90s. It's got like Iggy Pop and Pulp and all that in it. So really liked it. And Born Slippy it's a tune that you'll always go, oh, that's a Trainspotting tune, I suppose. And Lust for Life as well. Even Iggy Pop brought out a new video for the Trainspotting movie where it's like Ewan McGregor getting chased and things like that. So I went for Trainspotting for that one.
There's not a bad song on that soundtrack.
Not
a bad song amongst it at all. So
I
wholehearted, and I'm actually regretting that I didn't mention Trainspotting in the movie section, because it's a phenomenal film.
Aye, agreed.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
What about you, Chris? What did you go for your soundtrack?
So I was thinking, so we were talking about Hans Zimmer and stuff like that. I think it's always worth mentioning John Williams, who does the Star Wars and amongst other things. He does lots of different stuff. I think he might have done Indiana Jones as well. I'm not sure. So just about, I was thinking about things that add to, that almost were a feature of the film rather than just, this is a great film, it also has a great soundtrack. It was a soundtrack that is actually an integral part of it. And definitely Star Wars score is definitely fitting into that. But a few others that I want to give an honourable mention to, a bit of left to centre, some of them. So there's this film that I remember watching called Run Lola Run. It's a German film. It's subtitled. And it's, the music is an essential component to it. And it's like this, all this kind of really kind of like banging techno music. And in the title, it's basically this girl has got 20 minutes to get, I think it's like 100 grand or whatever, or 100,000 euros in order to save her boyfriend's life. And it goes through different kind of choices that she makes, and it can lead to that, and then it resets back to the start again, and she makes a different choice at that part, and then eventually, obviously, she gets to the outcome she wants, but it's an integral part of that film. So if you've never watched it, please try it out. Run Lola Run. It's from early 2000s. It's just a fantastic film, and with the soundtrack, an essential component. Another one that's worth mentioning, it's the same type of thing, is Drive. It's got Ryan Gosling in it.
I've not seen it, but I've always wanted to see it. So
without I'm not going to spoil it. The first roughly 15 to 20 minutes of that film, there isn't any dialogue in it. There's no dialogue, and throughout the film, there's hardly any dialogue in it. And in order to fill that void, because dialogue's an intrinsic part of a film, the soundtrack really comes into its own there. It's a lot of kind of mild, kind of electro kind of stuff. The soundtrack got lots of awards when it came out, so please do check that out, and please check out the soundtrack as well, because it's just something you can listen to in the house. The songs stand up in themselves as good songs. So check that out. Another film that's worth mentioning, it was only a few years ago, it might be more relevant, is Baby Driver.
I thought of putting that as my...
And that's one where the soundtrack is absolutely essential to the film, basically. So
it makes so much sense with it.
And it's just some great classic tracks. It's like more like a compilation album of tracks than anything.
It's almost like the Guardians of the Galaxy style.
Very similar. Very similar.
But it's a great movie as well.
Brilliant movie.
Mentioning that as my soundtrack. Also, another honourable mention, and just for one song at the very beginning scene, is it's Blade, and it's the remix of New Order when he goes in. It's the bloodbath scene. That's unreal. It just goes perfectly because you mentioned like German techno and all that. That's kind of that style, that genre of music, and that's a brilliant scene in a movie.
There's talk of Blade coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Phase 4. There is talk of it.
And will it be Wesley Snipes that plays?
No, I don't think it's going to be Wesley. I think somebody else earmarked for it. But it'd be great if it was Wesley Snipes, but I don't know what state he's in these days. Do you know what I mean? So I've not seen him in a lot of things recently. So,
So that's our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of movies. What I think we could do, Chris, is maybe put up like a wee template on our social medias for everybody else to give us their 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s.
That's a great idea, yeah.
Maybe quite a good discussion that we can have on social medias, like in Facebook comment sections and things like that. So we'll do that on our social medias, and you guys give us your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s of movies. So that's our topic done for this week, but we're going to stick on the topic because the quiz this week is on movies, as I've mentioned. So
I don't know if I should get my championship belt out for this because I'm genuinely nervous.
Right, okay.
But I'm still the champion, so I'm getting it out. Of course I'm getting it out.
It doesn't matter your score, you're still going to be the champion. So now you were saying about like Zoom quizzes through lockdown, you weren't great at the movie section. This was the very first set of questions I wrote for my family Zoom quizzes.
Okay.
And I said, can I do the movie questions, please? And this is the questions I came up with. So they done no bad, my family, in it.
My wife's usually best at this,
right,
at movies, so
right.
she's usually the movie buff in our
Well, we should
family.
do that one thing. Both of you guys compete. Because she's a regular viewer, isn't she?
She is, yes. An avid viewer.
Maybe take that belt off you, Chris. We'll see.
She can
see.
try.
Aye. Fireworks would definitely be out that night. So we'll jump into the quiz then. 10 questions. What's your target? What's your goal?
10 questions.
Yep. It's a long one.
I think I'm going to get... I'd be happy with 5. I'll be honest.
Okay.
I would be happy with 5.
I think it's doable. I do think it's doable. Just after the chat we had about certain movies. So, and for our viewers and listeners, I don't speak to Chris about the quiz at all before I write it. Before we start.
We've got time in our lives to do that sort of stuff, man.
I just wanted to make that clear because sometimes we talk about stuff and then I'm sitting thinking, that's going to be in the quiz, he's going to get that right away. But so we'll jump into it anyway. So, number 1, what speed must the DeLorean get to in order to travel through time and back to the future?
Oh, no. I just watched this last month as well.
I could have been really mean and asked you for the registration plate. But we'll go for the speed.
The registration plate, I might have had more chance with.
Really?
I don't know. Nah.
So for anyone who's not seen Back to the Future, they drive a DeLorean, which was a classic 80s sports car, and the way that they've programmed it, it has to reach a certain speed limit before it travels through time. And that's what I'm asking Chris
I'm going to say 85 miles per hour.
I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make when they're answering this because it's set in 1985. You're 3 miles per hour off. It's 88 miles per hour.
Oh!
Aye.
It was close.
Aye, that is a hard one. I think you've got
That's hard.
I'm
trying to remember what it is. Something to do with Doc or something like that, the registration plate or something.
Out of time.
Out of time, so it is.
Aye. So, question 2. Who plays Commodus, the Roman Emperor and lead antagonist in the 2000 movie Gladiator?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Well done. That's right. Good answer.
Remember that film.
Hans Zimmer does the song for that as well, which is a great song. Ended up getting remixed as well, and it was a great tune, like a trance tune, the Gladiator song. Anyway, question 3. Who played the victim in the shower scene of Hitchcock's 1960 film Psycho?
It's a film that I have never watched.
Right, okay.
So I know it's a famous scene. It's been replayed throughout. I'm going to say Rita Hayworth because you just mentioned Rita Hayworth there.
It's an actress called Janet Leigh.
Wouldn't have got that.
Next question, I think you'll get this. So, No, I Am Your Father is from which Star Wars film? You get half a point for the episode number and half a point for the episode name.
Okay, so it is Empire Strikes Back.
Correct.
And it's episode 5.
Well done. That's brilliant. So you're 2 out of 4. That's not bad if you're going for 5. Just need to keep doing that. Good answer, really good answer. But as when you were speaking about Star Wars, I was like, I'm going to get that right away in the quiz. Question 5. In which 1976 thriller does Robert De Niro's character famously say, "You talking to me?"
Taxi Driver.
Correct. Well done. That's you. You're on course for more than 5 now. But we
Hopefully.
won't question 6. Which film, part of a franchise spanning 24 years, won the Best Animated Feature Award at the 2020 Oscars?
Toy Story?
It is. It's Toy Story 4. Yeah, aye.
Because that was recently Toy Story, I thought. That's the only reason it could have got an Oscar.
Yep. So that's you. You've got 4 out of 6. Really good. Well done. Number 7. Amanda Bynes' 2006 teen comedy film She's the Man is based loosely on which Shakespeare play? So the story's kind of similar in that
Never seen the film
she
that
plays
you're talking about,
Right, okay.
so I'm going to have to rely on my knowledge of Shakespeare, which is thin at best.
Right, okay.
So I'm going to say something to do. So she's the man. Is
Yep.
what that's telling me is that the plot line is something where there's a woman playing a man.
Yep.
Would I be
Correct.
right in saying that? Right. Okay.
Yep.
So then I'm trying to think of Shakespeare plays that.
This was a great movie when it was. It's just one of the really
Uh-huh.
rich films.
It's not any Shakespeare that I've done in school. Put it that way.
If you like, and the characters are named the same as the characters in
Are
Shakespeare.
they?
Yep. So if you had seen it, it would be maybe a wee bit easier.
It's definitely none of the ones I have done in school. So I'm going to
Right.
eliminate them.
Okay.
And I'm going to eliminate. Educated guess, Romeo and Juliet, but I don't think it is that.
It's the 12th Night. So
Right,
there's
I wouldn't have
a
got it.
set of twins, and he plays her twin brother in it. And then she's the man. It's because she can't play for a men's senior team, where she wants to play football for a men's senior team. But still, we're on 4 out of 7. It's still a good score. So you only need one from the next 3 questions. So, and this one's really easy for yourself. Danny DeVito plays which comic book villain in a 1992 film based on DC Comics?
The Penguin.
The Penguin. Another great character, actually. Especially the Danny DeVito version of the Penguin.
I love, if you've watched Gotham, the TV series based on development of Batman, Bruce Wayne into Batman, the guy that plays the Penguin in that is a good contender as well, I would say.
Quite creepy, isn't he?
He is.
Aye.
Conniving's the word I would use.
Aye. So you've reached your goal of 5, Chris. Well done. And
thank goodness for that.
So 2 more questions. So this is a brilliant question. I really liked this when I wrote it. Which character was the first to fart in a Disney movie?
Oh, God.
And once you get the answer, you'll realise why.
Is that a recent movie? Can you give me a clue? Recent Disney?
Right, okay, I'll give you the clue that it wasn't a recent Disney movie.
It wasn't? Okay.
No.
Am I in the right lines in saying that is it a Disney princess one?
No.
I can't imagine a Disney princess farting until recently, so...
Right, okay.
So,
makes sense.
So I'm eliminating that then.
It's a hard question, but it's a good question. My family liked it in the Zoom call.
Is it a Toy Story character? And that's Pixar?
That's Pixar.
Nah, I've not got anything for you. I'm sorry.
Okay. It was from The Lion King, so I'll give you that clue and see if you can get the character. I'll give you like.
Never watched The Lion King.
I
Disney watched Disney that much, to be honest.
That's your homework then for this week, and you can speak about it on what's in.
So just tell me the answer.
It was Pumbaa, the warthog from The Lion King. He farts, and he's a first to fart on in a Disney movie. So last question, it's a 50-50. In The Matrix, does Neo take the blue pill or the red pill?
Oh, for goodness sake.
This is a good question.
The red pill.
You could have went for the blue pill or the red pill. You had a 50% chance. The red pill was correct.
Oh, thank God.
So what did you end up with? Was it
6, I think, there?
6. Let's see, we got Joaquin Phoenix, you got Star Wars, Taxi Driver, Toy Story, The Penguin, and The Red Pill. So 6. That's quite good. Must be
better
happy.
Than expected, to be honest. Better than expected for a film. Because
when you went for a target of 5, you got one more than that. So you can wear that belt with pride, Chris. And we'll hopefully get a challenger on next week.
Yeah.
To come and have a go. We're calling it Kirsty Chapman again because she gave me some grief for calling her out last week, so I'm just going to do it again until she comes in and puts up a fight.
This is my belt, so come and get it if you think, but nah.
Nah, it's not happening. So that's our episode 16 finish, guys. Thanks very much for watching or listening, if you listened instead. Please like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you need to get us on any social medias, or if you just want to hit us up with a topic, an idea for any future podcast, then you can get us on
Facebook, Kelly Youth Complex Staff, Twitter, Youth Complex CYC, Instagram, Youth_Complex, TikTok, Kelly Youth Complex, and you can chuck us an email at cycyouthteam@gmail.com.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for watching again, guys. We'll see you in the next one next week. Bye.
Bye.